I'm Shaktiman. I'm submitting this video as part of 6788 Engineering AI Solution Task 6. Now, this task is divided into two parts. Part 1 is about selecting one use case, developing the LU model for the use case, and part 2 is about creating the chatbot, which can take the input from the user, process the input using the developed LU model, and provide the response to the user. Now let's see how these both these parts are stitched together. So what I have done is, I've created this user interaction flow, wherein the user gives input in the chatbot. The chatbot sends the request to the Azure LU model. Azure LU model basically breaks it into intent and specific entities. Now the chatbot takes the action based on the returned intent and entities. It can basically call different APIs to get that done. So for example, if I'm asking for any example, it will go to OpenAI GPT. It will call OpenAI GPT, and it will return the example from the GPT itself. Similarly, the other calls it can make to, let's say, the knowledge database, or it can also go to a website and search something and provide the required response which is asked by the user. So that's how I designed it. Now the part one is all about building the Azure LU model, basically this portion of it, which can take the input and provide or break it down to the required intent and entities. So let's see how the Azure LU model is built. Um, Um, so for to prepare the Azure LU model, first step is actually creating the required resource. So the required resource was created in the Azure portal, and post that in Azure Studio, Language Studio, I have created the project wherein we have to build the model, train the model, test the model, evaluate the model, and deploy the model. So this everything happens in the language studio itself. Let's see how it happens. Now, if you see here, I have three projects. Basically, these are the incremental projects which I have created in order to fine tune my different models. And the final one is Tutor AI Tutor 1.2. Now, if I go to AI Tutor 1.2, so here the first step is basically um, you know um, provide the intent and entities, and then provide the utterances. So these are nothing but the data with which the model will be trained. Okay. So in order to do that, what I've done is I've designed my intent and entities like this. Let me go to the specific section. Okay. So since it is a AI tutor bot, so the user can ask academic concept or any queries related to the study, and then it can provide example, it can explain difficult topics, and it can actually clarify questions. So in order to do that, I've defined these entities: ask concept, request example, quiz me. Even it can actually build a quiz for a specific topic, and then it can also suggest some topic, and then it can also give some motivational messages as well. So this is how I've designed my intents. The same way, related to those intent, I also have defined my entities like this. I'll not go through these because of the time constraint, but for example, based on the question, based on the request, it can decide whether it is going to return a MCQ based quiz or a theory test. So these type of entities which I have designed. Now, once the entities and intent are designed, we also need to give input related to the utterances. So these are the utterances basically. If all the utterances we are giving need to be classified to different intent and entities as well, which will be used to train the model. Now, in order to do that, what I've done is what I've done is actually I have prepared everything in one Excel sheet, and this I learned while going through the Azure. These are all my 200 plus utterances which I have created, and then I have classified them, you know, um, based on the question. I have classified them to intent and related topic, and then also have them classified them into basically different entities like here, and this will be treated as my training data. Now, once I have designed this Excel sheet, what I've done is I went to the project itself, and here itself I can actually here itself I can import the entire Excel sheet and create a newer version of the model itself. So this is how I have created my different versions of the AI tutors. Now let's for the detail let me go to the AI tutor 1.2 itself. So once it is trained, so basically we can train here. Once it is trained, what I've done is I have run the evaluation using this model, and it is also basically based on these occurrences which we have defined here itself. I've taken another set of 10 to 12 occurrences and classified them accordingly so that it can be evaluated against these queries. Now based on that evaluation, the model is actually returning a very good result. The F1 score is 90%, precision is 90%, and recall is 90%. And if I go deeper to the model performance, if I see it here based on those evaluation questions, only as concept is having a precision of 66.67 accuracy, which means it actually failed or provided incorrect suggestion once. Otherwise, it is working fine for motivate me, request example, suggest topic, which me all these things. Then another thing is this non does not have, there is no evaluation data with which the non intent can be tested. So that is why it is showing null. So the next improvement to go beyond 90% of the accuracy is basically to provide some more utterances related to us concept and then to non so that it can predict them properly as well. So that's how I have tested or evaluated my model. Once it is evaluated, I deployed using this screen, and once it is deployed I can actually test the deployment using this screen as well. So let me run a test. So it actually gives the intent as request example, and it confidence level is 82%, and it is not able to find any entity, which is okay because we are only giving a subject here. So that's how the Azure AU model works. Now let me go back to my flow here. Yes. So basically what we have done is we have designed or developed this Azure LU model. Now let's see how the bot works. Now in order to see that, let me go here, run this. Okay. Now this is what I've done is I'm actually working with Gradio, which is an open source Python library that can help us build interactive UIs, and it is very simple. It can be run from Google Colab, and it can give a URL which can be embedded to any website. That's why I've taken it. So let's see how it works now. Now, if I see this is my chatbot, let me ask some questions. Now it says this, and the same thing I can do even using the direct URL as well. So I can say, mm, so we tested two inputs. One is give me a Python example. It actually gives a nice example, Python example here. And then we tested this give me Python quiz with three questions. It responded with this. Now let's see how it works. So this is actually the radio chat UI and how it works. So step one is this invokes this statement. With this, the UI comes up, and from the UI, it takes the input, and the user input is basically passed to a function called call CLU. Call CLU is defined here. If you see here, if I go up, call CLU is defined here. It basically, calls the Azure AU model, LU model with the user input, and it gets the response. Basically, the response is nothing but your intent and entities. It breaks down the response, and keeps the entities and intent in these variables and returns this intent and entities. Now, once this is done, again the flow comes back to this. So we get the entities and the intent from as a return here, and then this is passed to the next function, which is respond to the user. Now, respond to the user is the main critical processing functionality of this. So this is where the respond to user is defined. It basically, based on the entities and the intent, it actually it actually considering intent for now, but you can also consider entity while doing this processing based on various intent type. For example, if the intent is request example, which I did here, request was given example. So what it does is it actually calls the open AI model, specifically this model, and then passes on the required input. This prompt is also getting constructed here, and this prompt is passed on to the ChatGPT model, and whatever response it gets, it's again returns that response. Now it comes here, it gets that response, and it this the same response is basically passed on to the output, and which is displayed here. So this is how it works. And for this specific user input, for example, this is the quiz input which we got. Now if I go back here, it came here, quiz me, and it comes here, provides, builds this output and shares this output. So this is how it works. But instead of this, it can actually call it which app as well here using the API or any other integration method, and it can return a very good design quiz as well. But for the explanation and for the task, for this task, I made it simple. I made the logic here, and I've given how it can connect to the API. Just to explain how it can connect to the API, I've given this ChatGPT example here. So that's how it works. I think that is all from my side for this task. Thank you so much.